I don't know why it's happening. But did you guys know that most viral movies are the result of a carefully engineered tactic called clipping? And oh my goodness, so much better. I think it's just this monitor is fucked. Um, According to Creatable, which is a group that does the clippables and the clippings and the just in case, we all now know the phenomena of when you go to YouTube, particularly, and you start scrolling. After a couple scrolls on some shorts, you find that you start getting a bunch of movie clips. And this all really took off a couple years ago. I think we all kind of noticed that. I'm sure some executives sitting in some boardroom somewhere were like, how do we get people to watch our old catalogs? People aren't watching new movies. People aren't really watching old movies. We're just losing tons of people to social media. And some of these movies are good. Some of these TV shows are good. Landman sucks donkey ass. Whew. But, old white ladies love Billy Bob Thornton. He's been a sex symbol for years, and somehow he still maintains whatever he's doing. Although recently he does look like a gypsy woman that I would not get my fortune from, because I would be certain that that fortune would come with a curse. So, Billy Bob, if I start signing the cross at you and you're wondering why I'm being so rude, motherfucker, that is why. Yes, we are going bug. We need many things because my eyes are starting to fucking not work. Let alone call it a gag, call it a bit, people. This is supposed to be comedic, even if I am struggling creatively because of a prison of my own making that is my life. But, sometimes things don't always work out, and you got to roll with the punches instead of being a total bitch ass about it. And, bitch ass gonna do what bitch ass gonna do. Now for some more bitch ass shit. So these movie studios have basically such little respect for us, the audience, that movie studios have invested heavily into engineering attention. And this creatable allows people to popularize one of the more effective approaches, which is essentially spamming people with clips. So this goes a little bit into this we'll get into Project MK Anchor here in a second. Tune in for that because, yes, some of this stuff is based in scientific research that the United States did on both citizens and abroad to see, one, how suggestible people are, but in what direction are they suggestible? And how do you anchor a patriotic identity into these people that allows you to basically do whatever the fuck they want and still have the approval of your citizenry. It's almost like they saw what was happening during Vietnam and they were like, we're getting a lot of protests. People are really upset at what's going on. Really upset. They really don't like hearing about things like the My Lai massacre, but also as I'm sure people would have been protesting the Crusades had the Crusades had television during that time. In the same way that we would be criticizing the U.S. in many similar ways in which we are criticizing Israel, had the Iraqis and the Afghanis had social media in the same way the Palestinians do. Especially particularly because, guys, these are channels for propaganda from everyone, from everywhere. And we're in. Everyone likes to talk about, it's a spiritual war. It's a spiritual war for this, and it's a spiritual war for that. It is an electronic war for how they can steer your suggestibility. Is there a spiritual war going on? Sure. I also think the spiritual war or the culture war is just a fancy term for the modern propaganda attention situation that we find ourselves in. Instead of calling it a spiritual war, or instead of calling it a propaganda war for your mind, and that there are, 100, maybe 50 countries that are actively doing some form of propaganda against you, we're just going to call it a spiritual war, and anything that doesn't agree with like your Christian conservatism is demonic. and diabolical. Is that the case? No. No. No, just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it's fucking demons. Are there demons? Yeah. I've had to tangle with them a time or two. It's fucking awful. It's really bad. It's not what people get into the spirituality field for, but let's just face it. If you have been any amount of time in Los Angeles, in and around the people that populate the entertainment industry, there's a lot of weird demonic bullshit going on. And yes, I'm putting on 3 glasses to protect myself, but from the demons, not from the lights. It's the demons that I heard about in Hollywood too much. We need 2 hats too. We need 2 hats because I need to up my credibility by 6 inches. Yeah, that's 6 inches. That's 6 inches tall. We're not going to... No, that's 6 inches tall. Don't. I need that mental measurement for my sanity. Don't even think about it. All right? I see what you're doing. Don't. I don't care. This is 6 inches of height and interestingness that we are adding to my frame. So, rather, and because also too, if you start calling it a propaganda war or a soft information war for our attention or for suggestibility of people, because really what it comes down to is suggestibility is a spectrum, sort of like sexuality, and not necessarily in the gay, straight kind of binary thing, one side gay, one side straight, everyone in the middle, but more like a sexual appetite spectrum. So if you're all the way over here, you're totally sexless, asexual, and you're fine doing that. And hey guys, that's dandy. If you're ace, go for it. I have lost my hat. I need to get a bunch of those tiny hats because those stay on the head really well. And if I'm wearing a tiny hat in my videos, maybe they'll do better in the algorithm. Because frankly, the credibility that I am engendering currently is au contraire. Mon chéri, bon voyage. Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? Yeah, I know Madonna lyrics and French. Fucking yeah, dude. So when you call it an information war or a propaganda war, one of the things that you have to do, I think, to defend your population is to start educating them on what is propaganda. But that's difficult because if you educate too much of what propaganda is to your population, of which probably like 80% of people are a lot more suggestible than they would like to think. 20% is probably like super resistant to suggestibility in such a way that maybe that last like 5-10% you could call just straight up contrarian, where you suggest one thing and they just immediately knee-jerk reaction the other way. I have been called a contrarian once or twice in my life. My fashion choices, I would hope, would elucidate me as being deeply, deeply avant-garde. For those of you who don't know what avant-garde means the tip of the cultural spear. Yeah, I'm the tip of the cultural spear, motherfucker. Coming straight for your knowledge lobe like lightning thrown from a Hun. Not a Hun, a Charlie Hunanan, actually. Huns aside. So if you educate your population too much about propaganda that's coming in from outside sources, one of the main issues with that is all of a sudden now you have a population that is more inoculated against your own propaganda that you are pushing upon them than you are necessarily protecting them from outside influence. So when you call it a spiritual war, you're essentially relying on kind of religious patterns or religious communities to dispel or combat the propaganda while also putting people in a place that makes them uniquely suggestible maybe to the homegrown propaganda, because the homegrown propaganda is part of why they're leaning on this as a demonic spiritual war. Look at Tucker Carlson and all these people who are running around being like, demons this, demons that. Is that because there are actual demons and they're trying to warn people about it based on their own religious and pseudoscientific values. Sure, absolutely. I could spend a lot of time talking about what I actually think demons are. That's not for today, believe it or not. So, as we shed the layers of credibility and acceptability, one of the things that we can always come back to is that Tucker Carlson is a giant bag of dicks. I don't fucking like him. I know some people will go, well, I like him when he's saying this. It's like, that guy is a fucking cutout. If you cannot see that Tucker Carlson glows like a phosphorescent sign sold by that Tony guy that guy made a banger of a social media presence by just basically going, look at this like stupid retarded shit that you guys are doing here. Like, I'm just going to call this out from a Chinese perspective. Well, that worked. LC signs, I still remember that. It's up there with like the jingles. Keys on Venice, that we got absolutely indoctrinated with. Speaking of propaganda and mimetic suggestible programming, if they can figure it out in radio commercials, people, they can figure it out in a bunch of other stuff. That's just fact. So, as we meander our way past the facts into the fun, Tucker Carlson glows. I don't know if Candace Owen glows. For those of you who don't know what glowing means, glowing is a term for people who are potentially feds or informants or people who are some reason part of the government, intelligence agencies, whatever. And not always the case, but some people, it seems like they get artificially selected almost in a way that when someone spams Gangs of New York stuff at you and you go, well, I don't know how much I want this, and then you keep watching the Gangs of New York shorts, and then you're like, I think I need to rewatch this movie. I forgot about it. Totally. The love story with Cameron Diaz and Leonardo DiCaprio is actually pretty good. I mean, Bill the Butcher, easily one of the better villains, in my personal opinion, in any Scorsese movie. Also, passing resemblance. My hair's not greasy enough to Bill the Butcher. So, might be a Halloween costume here in the near future. So, I'm just really desperately fishing for compliments about people telling me that I look like Daniel Day-Lewis. It's been a lonely few weeks on Hinge, and I could use I could use a pick-me-up. And if anyone made it this far into the episode, 14 minutes in, just comment Daniel Day-Lewis is good. Thank you. Saving me from deep mental obscurity and misinformation. And I am Bug. All right, so we're going back to the expert hack because I want this to be taken seriously. So, again, when you have your glowies or your kind of chosen mouthpieces running around going, oh, this is demonic, this is how you protect yourself from the demonic thing, it kind of reminds me of like giving someone that is suffering from a viral infection a bunch of antibiotics. Yeah, they're getting medicine, right? Right? They're getting medicine, but it's not the right medicine for the right thing. But it may help for some reason. I don't know why. I'm not a doctor. Maybe that was a clumsy metaphor. We could figure something else out, but I get so frustrated when people are like, but look at what Tucker is saying. It's like, Sean Ryan, look at this. The guy worked, literally, guys, they worked for the fucking CIA. Like, I've watched the Sean Ryan show. It's a limited hangout. And I think what's happening is you have the idiocracy of America that is deeply captivated by stupid fucking events like the UFC on the White House lawn. But that's where Americans are. They've been deeply brainwashed and anchored into a retarded patriotic view of the world and things, but also the more I learn about history and the more that you read like really boring anthropological stuff, or I guess boring is the wrong word, I think it's interesting, but really dry stuff about how just people like lived in 1834 in England, whatever. And you go, oh, people, like certain problems that we have, we kind of always have some version of it coming back around to bite us in the ass. Do you guys ever get a headache so bad it hurts your teeth? I gotta stop falling asleep on the couch. I'm too old for that shit. So, the Idiocracy class down at the bottom gets WWE level propaganda. And then the more intelligent, what we'll call the middle sphere, that's like the Rogan sphere for entertainment and propaganda. Like they want you paying attention to Rogan, they want you working out and eating right so that you can go be a successful soldier when something inevitably fucks up. Just look at that dialogue thing. Like they're talking about World War III. But guys, we've all been talking about World War III. All of us. I've talked about World War III with my friends. You've talked about World War III with your friends. Even if you don't have friends, you've talked about World War III with someone. How do I know this? Because I don't have friends, and I've talked to World War III about a lot of people. Do they say, sir, this is a Wendy's, please leave? And I go, no. What you need to understand is that you are going to be sent to go die in a foreign country because these people are too up their own ass to acknowledge that they are completely controlled by Israel. I mean, we have like what, 3? So, and this is how you know, like it's a tiered thing. We'll just look at Israel as a case study in terms of the tiers of propaganda that you will be getting in the United States based on your intelligence and education level. Bottom, you get the WWE bullshit. Fuck you. You're supposed to love Israel. You're supposed to want to die for Israel. You're supposed to want Americans to die for Israel. You're supposed to want a lot of money to go to Israel. Now, again, I'm just picking on Israel because it's easy. And not even easy, but it's the most relevant currently, I think, to a lot of Americans. So when you have the WWE class where it's just like, no, you're supposed to read this stuff, you're supposed to be told about this article or whatever, and you're supposed to just basically not pay attention. Go, oh, this is so complicated. I'm told Israel's the good guy. Look at how close Israel is with our president. I'm just going to accept this and move on and completely ignore it. So then you have the step above that, which is kind of like the Rogan sphere, I guess, of propaganda. If there is a middle tier, it's definitely that. And the middle tier is the largest, and Venn diagrams into the other sides. So you have Joe Rogan going on and talking about all this stuff, and he'll say this thing, and it's not just Joe Rogan. I think just Joe Rogan is the biggest mouthpiece or example of this class of propaganda. But it's designed for midwits. It's designed for people that are somewhat intelligent, maybe a bit autodidactic, maybe a chip on their shoulder because they weren't smart enough to get into college, but they wanted to learn. I don't think there's anything wrong with autodidactism as an amateur anthropologist. I mean, I'm a lot of amateur things, but, let's face it, amateur porn star would be the most fun and probably the greatest break I need in my life right now. Maybe that's how I finally enter into the industry, by doing amateur pornog. Sadly, if you think it's hard to break into Hollywood in terms of the oversaturation, or social media and trying to do entertaining stuff through social media is oversaturated and difficult, just wait till you see how much porn has completely become oversaturated by amateur efforts. And it gets real dark real quick, because then you find out OnlyFans. And speaking of the WWE class and the Joe Rogan class, you get the OnlyFans being like, hey, you can make this money. Look at how much this money is made. And then you get all these ladies that are a very small group of people that have massive OnlyFans, and that kind of poisons the well for a lot of women because they don't realize you don't see the woman who's trying to slang her pussy out there for like 12 people. She got 12 subscribers on her OnlyFans, just $5 a month. She's making, not even $100. My math isn't good there, but you know what I mean. If you've ever worked in the real estate world, sometimes people, they got insufficient funds. That's got to be a dark day when you're doing your OnlyFans to no one, or 12 people, and I mean 3 of them NSF when the month comes around. That's got to be a dark day. That's got to be the day a lot of OnlyFans ladies just go, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I'm done. Nope, this is not healthy for me. This has destroyed me, and now my coochie is all over the internet, and so is my booty hole. Great. Yeah, it's going to be really, bullying in 10 or 20 years is going to be so fucking weird for kids. Oh, I saw your mom. Oh, I saw your mom. Like 2 kids nailing each other because they're just like, or not nailing, roasting each other because they both saw each other's mom getting nailed on their OnlyFans. It's like, yeah, well, your mom likes black dicks. Well, it'd be like, your mom doesn't like black dicks. What is she, fucking racist? Last I saw, your mom only sleeps with like Mexican women. Is she racist? It's like, it's gonna get so strange. And then you get the one kid who's like, haha, your guys' moms are fucking on the internet, and they're like, yeah, at least our mom's got a fucking job, you pussy. Fucking stay-at-home trad wife mom over here. Go make some fucking sourdough, you pussy. God damn it. The image of a couple of boys whose moms do OnlyFans roasting the shit and bullying a boy whose mom is a trad wife. That's funny to me. Clip it. That's a skit. We'll make that when I start doing the skitty things. Skiddly doodly, skiddly skipped up toilet. Sometimes I stutter, if you have not noticed, and I like to think it is my brain catching a groove wrong and just dent. But really what it is I'm trying to think of the next thing to say without actually saying anything concrete. It allows my brain to catch up to how fast my mouth is moving. All right, so Rogan, WWE class, the Rogan, and this includes things like The View, MSNBC, Fox, CNN. You could say that the mouthpiece of the propaganda is going to change based on the demographic, age, color of the collar. A little bit skin color, but not so much. I'd say that what changes most there is voting demographic. Black or white, you're probably not watching Fox unless you are leaning more conservative or Republican. You're probably not watching Joe Rogan, man, woman, whatever your skin color, unless you are somewhat into like the personal accountability thing and, hey, I'm just a dumb guy, but I want to ask the questions. And, great. You're getting all your shit filtered through a meathead, stoner meathead. Why do that when you can have it be a bug? A crazy mystic man. Look at how jaunty my hat is perched upon my head. Obviously, I know what I'm talking about. Guys, I know what I'm talking about so much. I'm going to cover my expert hat again. Here's the thumbnail. I can't imagine why they did not let me into the gates of Hollywood. It's because I'm a hack. So, those are the people who it's like, you're outsourcing critical thought to your favorite pundit or to your favorite podcaster. I think a lot of people that watch like Patrick Bet David and all that stuff, great. That's kind of their thing. They don't really actually want to engage with this stuff intellectually. They just sort of want someone to spoon feed them things in bite-sized increments that they can digest, or to be filtered through someone that they intellectually identify with as, I don't know, a sub 70 IQ retard. Looking at you, Mr. Rogan. Although I think a lot of people, they confuse Rogan's kind of adapted persona that he does with a lot of his interviews with him and how he actually is. Guys, you don't get to the place of wealth that he's at if you're not somewhat intelligent. It's like Trump. Everyone, oh, Trump's a fucking idiot, all this stuff. It's like, no, he's not. He's not an idiot. He's a lot of things. Do I like him? Fuck no. Do I think he's destroying America? Hell yes. Do I think either president, whether it would have been Kamala, who got railroaded without any sort of due process of electoral selection, that she was just given to us as the fucking candidate? What? And then you have Trump. What? We just had a geriatric old fucker that was shitting himself all the time. Do we really need another geriatric old fucker that's shitting himself all the time and falling asleep everywhere? No! But this was just the era, the time, 2025 or 2026 or whatever the fuck, on to 2030, that the people who plan the shit, when everyone's like, oh, the Illuminati meeting of the dialogue, we'll get to that in a second, but every motherfucker calling the dialogue leak an Illuminati group is fucking stupid. Like, actually stupid. And that's a thing I think we all need to do more as we go on in this life. Some people are just stupid. Stop wasting your time and stop being so charitable with your explanations of their behavior. What if they're just fucking dumb? And that's why they're acting like an idiot. Doesn't have to do with some trauma. Doesn't have to do with some poor whatever. Oh no, woe is me. No, they're just stupid. Stupid people used to die a lot. We covered this in the last episode. I mean, plenty of people used to die a lot. Before modern medicine came along, I probably would have died in childbirth and probably took my mom with me. My head was stuck to her hip. You telling me that they had maybe a good Roman or a good Egyptian, these high peaks of civilization? Yeah, I might have survived in that. But no, getting born on a farm in fucking Wyoming or whatever, Ohio, in even the 1920s, probably would have died. So, go modern medicine, as much as I like to think of myself as some ancient warrior, mystic shaman. Guys, probably would have never made it out of the womb before about 70 years ago. So, you outsource the thinking, you get it filtered through this person, and that's fine. I think we do not have time to go through all the information, but I think that's part of the control element, that we don't have time to go through all this information. And so the Sean Ryan, and I'm just simplifying this into 3 categories. You could parse it and blah, 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 but we're not getting to the true idiotic stuff at the bottom, which is the Taylor Swift worship, the people who think Andrew Tate's going to save them, the bottom of the barrel. And great, you can like Taylor Swift. I genuinely don't give a shit. But if you are one of the people who is kind of putting Taylor Swift into a place of an American royal without any of the heritage or tradition or the whatever, but literally just you want someone to worship, but also you want someone to worship that you can identify yourself as. Taylor Swift and her shitty ass dance moves, any girl can do that stuff. I can do that stuff. It's not that complicated. I can't do what Beyonce's doing. Definitely not. Christina Aguilera, heck yes. Heck yes. Heck yes. I could probably do what Little Uzi Vert's doing. I see a lot of these guys to where you're like, I could do that. I'm not supposed to do that. I think one of the things about great music is you look at it and you go, wow, those people are talented and special. Aretha Franklin running around in her 70s, still singing, doing all these things. Woman's an absolute champion. Fight me. Fight me. But I mean, this is why so many alt chicks love Hayley Williams from Paramore. Nothing against it. I think she's fine. But so much of her dance moves and all the things she does are completely relatable and doable by any person. No, she's not doing crazy backflips and all these other things. She's doing the least. That's why Sabrina Carpenter is fucking popular. Sabrina Carpenter is the most auto-tuned, just bullshit. Do I think she's cute? Sure. Do I think it's like an even dumber version of Madonna, like the sex sells thing? Yeah, absolutely. Like, look at me as I do this little coquettish thing. And like, I'll pose suggestively for 1 second, kneeling in front of a large black man. Like, I'm so risque. It's like, just fucking suck his dick on stage. That would be avant-garde. That would be risque. Just actually do it. Just do it. What are we talking about? I mean, at this point, how do you differentiate one movie from another? Full penetration. Fucking duh. Come on, people. How much time do we got left? Half hour. Oh, boy. And I want to leave sooner than later because I got to go take care of some cats that I did not lock in, and I don't want any Yotes getting them. So the top level of the propaganda Americosphere is what I call the Sean Ryan strata. And it's not just Sean Ryan. You could say it's the breaking points. It's all the intellectual or pseudo-intellectual political punditry that comes from a place of, I don't know, overinflated sense of one's critical thinking capability because you have a college degree that you basically got because you painted by the numbers. And because you painted by the numbers, you think that you are actually intelligent. You are not intelligent. You painted by the numbers. Those are two different things. Intelligence and an ability to follow directions that are somewhat complicated are two different things. You motherfuckers, dumb motherfuckers too. The amount of people that I have talked to that know how to string together a compound sentence in a way that makes sense and does not read like a run-on. People who know where to put a semicolon. People who know what a semicolon is and how it's used. And they lack the critical thinking of a fucking donut. It's astounding. It's so astounding. I feel it's by fucking design. But also, humans have... Like, the more time I dig into all this, the more I'm just like, oh, the suggestibility spectrum. Most people are actually very suggestible to a degree that you got to wonder, on the extreme side of it, are some people just so gullible and so suggestible that, like, that end of the spectrum hasn't been publicly identified because they don't want us to know how easily you could literally go hypnotize someone to just shoot a bunch of people or to do some crazy heinous crime or to maybe bring a gun to the White House during a press event. Do you guys ever been to a hypnotism show? It's kind of dumb. They had one at my high school senior party. And I remember a bunch of people, myself included, that were not picked or chosen. Which is funny because when I started learning about hypnotism from the other side, how do you hypnotize people? People, when they're picking out certain people from the crowd, they go, you look like a suggestible motherfucker, you look like you don't have a brain in your head, and you look like you are doing everything for attention. Come on up here. You're exactly who I want. But then there would be people also in the audience trying to hypnotize themselves. I did this to me. It didn't work. I didn't get hypnotized. Can I be hypnotized? Probably. I don't know. Have I been hypnotized? Oh, God. Oh, God. How do I not know? Oh, God. So, some people, they are, and they go out. And they're not even the intended target. They're just whoop, slumped over, oh. And then they got to kind of bring them back up and do all these things. And it's a mixture of, some people, it's it's this magical skill. It's not. It's really not a magical skill. What it is that we humans are intensely suggestible, mostly because we're a hive mind. We're a social hive mind creature that has tricked ourselves into thinking that we're some sort of pack animal. We're not. There's so many ways in which that we translate or we move problems and things through very weird, complicated, neurological things. One person... I guess one thing that's been happening recently is young children are far more verbally adept than previous generations. But that's a thing that's been getting... You know what? I read the article. I thought the article was kind of bullshit because I think it's the newest version of, oh, look at how smart my child is. Look at the word that they might know. Not realizing that you could have been just scrolling through fucking TikTok and all of a sudden someone's saying some $6 words and, they got a few syllables in them and your kid says it. Why? Because they're hearing and seeing you interact with this and they're like, well, that must be important. So they pay attention, they pick it up, and then they regurgitate it. And then because you're so desperate for your child to be special in the same way that you were lied to and told that you were special, and you were given participation trophies, or I was given participation trophies, and going, holy shit, I know I'm not special. This is insane. But you gave enough of them to us that we all believed it. Most of us are wrong. Most of us are not any sort of special. We're just humans living lives wondering why we're not Taylor Swift. Because we see Taylor Swift and we're like, I could do that. Like, how am I not famous? And it creates a very strange feedback loop in society. It makes people really resentful of success. Wait, it's almost like they're trying to facilitate a crabs in the bucket mentality amongst the lower levels of American society so that people stop organically rising up. Why raise up when someone else can just bring you back down? That saves the elites, or the people at the top of the pyramid, shall we say, the pyramid toppers, the power toppers. The powerful ones at the top. Power tops. I think the gays might have claimed that term. Yeah, the gays might have gotten that one. So, with the Sean Ryan tier of propaganda, you have a more, like, they're not trying to WWE us. They're trying to give you, like, the, first, what is it, fucking journalistic, like the first source, first degree of separation from the thing, the primary source. There we go. Primary sources, at best secondary sources. But, these are the podcasts where the doctors go on and they're talking to Sean and he's all smart and he knows things. And your Huberman husbands, I'd say, are in this. Where they're, the level up here is, so like at the bottom, it's, you better love Israel. You better get ready to fight and die for Israel. And then in the middle, it's, it's just such a complicated thing with Israel, dude. And yeah, man, it's just, I don't know. I don't know. There's this over here, but then what they're doing to those children in Gaza looks pretty bad, man. It looks pretty bad. And MSNBC going, well, there's this thing with Israel, and then you go to CNN and they're like, well, they're protesting this and they're protesting that, and it's like, okay, I don't know what to take from any of this, because you're kind of saying on one hand there's some bad stuff going on, and on the other hand you're like, no, it's not bad stuff, and these are our allies, and we gotta help out these allies. And then you get to the top, and it's a lot of like, we're completely captured by this foreign intelligence agency, Mossad, or Shin Bet, or any of these other things. Whatever Israel is doing and all the different psyops or espionage attempts that Israel is doing, we're going to start airing it up here, hoping maybe that it trickles down a bit. I don't know, but it does seem that up here at the top of the strata of propaganda, they want us to be skeptical of Israel. They want us to understand that there is a very contentious relationship between the two countries, and that it is probably closer to a frenemies thing than it is a friends and allies sort of thing. And that the frenemies might be getting closer towards enemy because of how many of these other problems are happening. And for that reason alone is why I keep going back to the Israel little tyke, steering wheel. Yeah, they have a steering wheel. It looks like they might be driving the car from someone on the outside, until you see that steering wheel is not connected to shit, and that all they really have is the aux cord, and they have control over the aux cord and how that is being played throughout the car. But there is absolutely someone else driving the car. It is not Israel. It's definitely France. No, it's actually probably fucking England. But, if you want to subscribe to the whole after World War II and the banks, and World War I and the banks, and the 1890s and the banks, that the superpower of the 18th century that was England, the 19th century, decided to make the U.S. their hard power system, and that they would maintain a soft power through banks or through financial institutions. And, the same people that kind of control that stuff behind the scenes in their aristocratic monarchical system are going to do the same thing over here. And when you look at that and you see that, it's the same European aristocratic banking families, that some of them are Jewish, but some of them are not. So it's like, come on, guys. Are the ones puppeteering the strings and, shorting all these bets, or blah, blah, blah. And I mean, really, it's been going back a long time. Oxford is old. England is an old society. Many of these aristocratic houses are over 1,000+ years old. They go back to the War of the Roses. It's a long time ago. So, because there is that strata, be skeptical of Israel. Well, I don't know about that, man. Like, on one hand, yeah, like we gotta help out this ally, but on the other hand, like, they're doing some fuck shit, dog. Yeah, they're doing some fuck shit, dog. To the bottom where it's, you better love Israel, 'cause you are gonna die for the Jews. We are Charlie Kirk, we carry the flame. That said, I would say Charlie Kirk was he was a middle asset guy, and he was starting to break into the top asset thing by going, wait, hold on, what the fuck is going on with all these like Jewish mega donors in our country and all the propaganda that they're pushing through these news punditry organizations or influencer organizations or whatever. Like and even my organization, Turning Point, like, what is going on with all this Israeli money? Is this kosher? Or is this something that we should be skeptical of? Well, and then they exploded a Lavalar mic into his fucking neck at the top of a menorah-shaped thing, and also a pentagram. It's complicated, but the more you learn about Jewish witchcraft, the more you're like, oh no, this is bad. This is bad. Dark Judaic mysticism is, let's just say, it's pretty lawyeristic. It's pretty legalistic. And the more you learn about it, the more you're like, oh, Jeffrey Epstein was a dark wizard, like a dark Kabbalistic inverted wizard, Sabbatean Frankist. We'll get there on another thing. Basically, it's the inversion of Kabbalah, but also there is an inversion. It's long and complicated, and I get kind of frustrated with a lot of this stuff because most of it is fucking nonsense. It truly is. One of the hardest things that you kind of have to navigate as a mystic is that you read so many different traditions and like the things they believe and, the steps of belief and all this stuff. And then you get to a point where you're just like, oh, this is like the top highest level of control, is making really smart, driven, motivated, ambitious people part of a fucking cult. And now we're at Dialogue. I know it took a minute. It took a minute to get there. Thank you for listening. Like, share, comment, subscribe or something, because the algorithm likes me when I say that, and I say stuff about the problem children of the world too much, and I get in troubles. Whoops. Sorries. One of my lights died. We're not plugging it in. Power through. 15 minutes. So, up at the top, you have all these people doing their, where is it? The dialogue, the God log, the God logic, Dios, logos, the God logic. power, secrecy, and dating apps? Here's the thing. So Dialog is an invitation-only network co-founded by billionaire Peter Thiel, has spent 20 years operating in the shadows until now, after a massive data leak by Swiss hacktivist Mia Arsen-Krimui. It's basically crimes with a W at the end. And the roster of the world's most powerful figures has been exposed to the public. This is not a roster of the most powerful people. No, this is the C squad. The most powerful people already have their secret Illuminati groups. That was what the Epstein Files was about. And the Epstein Files was probably a lower ranking one. It wasn't the top. It's the one that they were willing to sacrifice to let us know about. Hence the scapegoating ritual. Again, the more you learn about the dark Jewish mysticism and the other Jewish mysticisms, the more you look at certain things going on in the world and you go, oh, God damn it. See, the problem is that people believe this stuff wholeheartedly. And when you approach many of this stuff from a place of I don't know. I guess essentially deep existential dread and a lack of willingness to prescribe or subscribe to someone's religious dogma when how can you be so certain that you're right when those people over there are so certain they're right? And then the more you learn about science, the more science contradicts these ancient, in my opinion, OCD assuagers. I do think actually a certain amount of, and why we're seeing an explosion of mental illnesses and issues, is there are many systems, and this goes back to the propaganda fight of why teach your people about propaganda when you can just tell them to fight the demons. There's a lot of stuff inbuilt into religion and religious action and religious, say, habits or rituals that you do maybe on the daily basis, say doing the cross, sign of the cross if you feel like you need to ward off the devil. Great. That's like an OCD mechanism. It's a mechanism to assuage and bring our nervous systems out of a place of feeling attacked. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing either. If I was 4,000 years ago and I look over to my right and I see a fucking tornado catch on fire, yeah, you bet your ass I'm going to believe in some sort of supernatural power. Because that shit's fucking supernatural. You know, if you see a volcano explode, you'd be like, that God is really pissed off at us. Yeah. It's a natural thought process, frankly, for how do you understand the world around you. Sometimes you might have to give it up to God, give it up to a thing that you don't understand. And that's essentially where it is. That's the way the mysticism looks at all that. Is there's a place of understanding where we simply can't understand. So we put God there. I know it requires way too much intellectual rigor and honesty to be a good mystic, but that's where these dialogue people come in. They want to capture that mystical search, and they want these people to feel like that there is camaraderie that does not exist in the mystical class. It just does not. Mysticism is a very lonely road, mostly because many of the other mystics you'll encounter, you might go, wow, that motherfucker is full of shit. And I'm sure I've encountered people that looked at me and they were like, this boy is lost. This boy is lost. And it's yeah, fucking, I got 3 glasses on, 2 hats, in the side room of a real estate office talking about propaganda. Do you think I'm found? The answer is no, guys. The answer is no. I am adrift without a mast, and my rudder is broken, and we are screaming at the seagulls because what else is there to life? Sometimes you just got to scream at the seagulls until you drown or die of thirst. So, this comes from Ed's Manifesto official on IG. Now, what we know, the leak revealed a directory embedded directly into the group's own website code, which, again, big mistake for any sort of tech billionaire obsessed with invading privacy and building his own secrecy. But that's, again, where I get into the kind of propaganda tractions layers where I'm was this leaked on purpose? It feels like it was leaked on purpose. Why would you have that in there? And also, how has no one looked at the source code until now? And now all of a sudden it has all these... I don't fucking buy it for a goddamn second. You might think Peter Thiel's stupid. I don't. I think he's kind of evil. I think that's different than being stupid. I think there are multiple layers and tiers to this thing that Thiel is doing? Because it's the top of the propagandic pyramid. It is a modern Epstein catch thing. Epstein was invited to this, apparently. And it's a dating app. So it's a way for people to, okay, you create a safe space for people to say things. Well, eventually someone's going to have a few too many scotches, and they're going to say something racist or shitty or genocidal or like so out of touch that you might as well be a fucking alien or a reptile. And it becomes a capture point. Or where they say, oh, would you be looking for love? Well, weren't there all those reports not too long ago about how these women in Silicon Valley were getting pressured to be part of like orgies and all this other shit, and big boys club of all these fucking nerds that all of a sudden have power because of how proper this world is? We need to get rid of that propriety. We do. Or else a bunch of weenies are going to destroy this planet. If there's anything I can see in my mystical ball of yarn up there, it's this fucking thread of the biggest weenies being in charge of all this power. They are going to like geek themselves into destroying the planet. Voila. So basically, you have this looking for love thing, and oh, here's this matchmaking service. Great. Is that a way to maybe put people with spies? To funnel them into honeypots? Because they trust Thiel? And then Thiel's like, oh yeah, this chick is great, dude. And then Joseph Gordon-Levitt's in there? And you're like, well, this is kind of throwing me off. Is that Josh Brolin? Why are they here? I've seen them speak. They're not that smart. Why are they here? And then you look at the men that Peter Thiel likes and is sexually attracted to, like Clavicular, and you look at the Joseph Gordon-Levitt and you're like, oh, you're trying to suck his dick. Yeah, you're trying to fuck him. That's fine, dude. I wish you didn't have to wrap it in so many layers of bullshit, because why do anything for one reason when you can do anything for a bunch of reasons? And maybe have some weird, crazy sex parties where you have people in compromising positions getting fucked by Peter Thiel like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and then you own them. Kind of like how I'm sure Katy Perry or any of these other people that went to the fucking island and were on Lolita Express a bunch were probably deeply compromised by Epstein. And then they have to go on some like media PR spin where they're like, look at how goofy Katy Perry is while she runs around and acts like a flailing robot during your sets. And you're like, I feel like you just needed to flood the zone with a bunch of shit that wasn't, look at how much we are getting completely fucked over. So, and plus, the numbers of attendees, again, do we really think that no one in the last 20 years of this dialogue thing existing ever scrubbed the source code? Especially some of the people that joined this never like did their homework and checked the source code. That's why I think the source code thing was added in there and then probably leaked either to the hacktivist or to the thing, like tipped them off, like, hey, look at check this out, check this source code, and all of a sudden it's got all the names in it. Why? Because shit like this, which is essentially a secret society, has layers to it. We got the bottom layer in the same way the Epstein, whatever the fuck that is, has layers to it. And there are layers that are higher and lower than other layers. That is how layers work. Why am I explaining how layers work? I don't know. I think I need a good night's sleep and a hug. But that's not happening anytime soon. But also, some of these things, it's like, guys, I also know that so many of the people reporting on this have never been part of a nerdy forum where a lot of people are trying to like seem as intelligent as possible to other people. Navigating World War III. Who has not talked about World War III with anyone? Friends, family, acquaintances. We all have. Build a cult. Okay, that's a little more niche, but I've talked about how to build a cult many times with many people. So much so that I've had people tell me, I'd be an excellent cult leader. You know what I know about myself? I'm too fucking lazy to be a cult leader. I'm not even doing this shit right. Like, you think I've got the fucking motivation to be a cult leader? I could barely get myself motivated to do a fucking podcast correctly. Money does buy happiness? No fucking shit it does. It was a fucking lie when they were telling us that money doesn't buy happiness. That was one of those original billionaire lies. Is that true to a sense? Sure. Find ways to be happy with inside yourself. If you have a constant hole that you're trying to fill with whatever the fuck, money, drugs, blah, blah, blah. Great. You're going to fill the hole at some point. But also, the hole gets bigger the more you try and fill it. At some point, you have to stop trying to fill the hole. You got to move on. You got to move on from that poisoned well in your foundation. So, again, this group is supposed to be comprised of the architects of the modern surveillance and data industries. And they couldn't manage basic web security. Also, why would you have a roster of people in your HTML? That doesn't make sense to me unless it's some sort of like, these are the people that are absolutely coded in. But I feel like you could do it in a more sophisticated way, period, and a more anonymous way. So that's why I think this was done to kind of let people know, like, we're airing this out that this exists. But also we're doing this to let the people who are higher up know, like, you're a little on thin ice. You know, so warning shot across the bow. Hey, play by my rules. I have shit on you now. And so these matchmaking services, are we sure they're not sleeping with people? Say that there's some billionaire or whatever famous person that's like, you know, I really want to fuck a trans chick. Never really had the opportunity. The ones I see, not hot enough for me. Great. You talk to Peter Thiel and his matchmaking service. Oh, and also you want one that's, I don't know, a computer programmer and has a background in all this stuff so that you can, you know, whisper sweet nothings about how your code works to the trans girl while you're, I don't know, canoodling post-coitus, covered in cummies. Which reminds me of the problem with Chinese spies infiltrating Silicon Valley groups, fucking these nerds, and then getting the sweet nothings afterwards where they're like, oh, by the way, I know a little thing about Coder too. Could you like teach me this thing that you're... They're like so ready because no one's ever been interested in this stuff, let alone a hot naked chick or a hot naked trans chick. No one's ever done that for them. So they're just like, oh, yeah, I'll tell you everything. The amount, and I've seen this in my life. I've seen this outside my life. I've seen this in TV movies. Not TV movies, reality shows, I suppose. News. Sorry about that. Look, dead air. I know. I'm sorry. It's been long. So, anyways, the Chinese sex, like, guys, beautiful women or beautiful people that nerds are attracted to have been the downfall of nerds forever. Other countries, other intelligence apparatus, they know this at this point. You telling me fucking Peter Thiel doesn't also know this? Like, guys, it's just math. It's basic math. Put 2 and 2 together here and follow the fucking equal sign. So when they're leaking this stuff, they're putting everyone on blast in that thing that, hey, guys, we just totally exposed our lowest group of membership. Like, we're letting you all know that this has been a surveilled effort this entire time. Why would you trust the privacy or any word of privacy from this fucking guy who literally pioneers the most invasive technology that we're aware of? And that he wouldn't be videotaping the orgies? What the fuck are you talking about? And I saw a article that felt like a fucking ad. It felt like an ad to go be an escort in Silicon Valley, where it's like, you could make $3,500 to $6,000 an hour. But you have to have expertise in coding, software, hardware, all this computing technology or other sorts of technology. because these guys are probably fucking for 2.5 minutes tops. Hey, I've been there. No, we all have bad nights, guys. We all have quick nights. Some nights you're just like tired. Some nights you're like, I don't even know where that came from. Like, what? I think I thought I sneezed. I'm sorry. And then other nights where you're just like, well, that happened. Made it 3 minutes. I'm a fucking god. But also, if you're a person that's been largely sexless most of your life, and you finally get money and power, and you fuck up the sex part, where the sex part's not that sexy, and you feeling insecure about yourself, maybe you overcompensate with, hey, babe, check out this like really crazy, interesting information I know about Palantir, about, my work, about Andrew, any of these things. We think they're not spilling the beans after they're like, yeah, I'm so sorry, I was a 2-pump chump. Here's like why I'm cool. They're so desperate to be cool. It will be their undoing. Anyways, next week or later this weekend, we will be talking about Project Anchor and all that stuff, because it is relevant to all the things we just talked about. I'm going to go pretend I'm relevant to the world. Goodbye.